Okay, thank you all very much. We will get started now. Thanks for your patience and for all being here. So we're going to officially call the July 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. And if you'd like, please join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So we'll start with the interviews for the Ethics Commission, and just first wanted to just say thank you so much. We were really worried when this came up that we weren't going to have enough people apply, and we actually have more than enough. So we really just want to thank you all for being willing to put yourselves forward for this. We're just going to go kind of in order based on who's here. We'll ask you just to come up, at the microphone. We'll ask you some questions. Just for the record, you are on camera with SEC TV. If you have any questions for us at the end of it, you're very welcome to ask that. Everybody will get the same questions. When you're done, you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay for our whole meeting, but we also won't hold it against you if you choose to leave. So with that, the first person we have up to interview is Laura Jackson. If Laura wants to go first, or if you want to get your breath. Okay. So you'd come forward right here. And we don't normally do this, but just because it's in our ordinance about the Ethics Commission, we do just need to want to confirm everybody's political party. That's not normally a step we take. But so we just want to confirm, one, that you are unaffiliated.
That's right.
Okay. And then, so we have a lot of questions, but some of them can be very quick, so don't be alarmed. Ben, do you want to start? Or?
Sure,
Right.
I'll go with the first one. We'd like to know what pertinent experience you have in professional or volunteer capacity in responding. Please expand on prior experience you have with investigations. Thank you.
Well, I don't have experience with investigations, but my previous professional work was as an educator. So in that role, I had a fair amount of experience mitigating conflict and kind of talking through situations where both parties felt like they were wronged. And now I'm a almost full-time stay-at-home parent, so I have a lot of experience in conflict mitigation there as well.
You want to go second?
Sure.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
Well, I don't know a lot about it, to be honest, but I think the intent is that it's a group of community members who are coming together to, review something that has occurred and really bring their best judgment to the situation in determining the best path forward and kind of setting a precedent for the town. So should something like this happen again, there's something to refer back to. So I just see it as really an opportunity for community service.
Thank you.
Thank you. For sharing your microphone. Please, could you also describe any skills or experience that you think you might uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission?
Well, I think that I'm a good communicator, so being able to listen and then respond. I think that I'm experienced with working with a group, so past roles I've had where I was part of a team, and so therefore had to kind of perhaps take others' opinions into account in making decisions. Yeah, and I think also a sense of humor. I don't know if that's unique, but I think that can be helpful in situations like this.
Have you read the Ethics Commission ordinance, and do you understand the roles, responsibilities of the commission, as well as the timeline for each process?
I have read it. Please don't quiz me on it. And I do understand, based on my reading.
And the timeline responsibility?
Yes.
Should you be selected for this commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you are connected in any manner to the complainant or subject of the complaint, that you will immediately step down from the commission?
That's an easy one. Yes.
Thank you. Similar. Are you aware that the complainants and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds that there is to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes.
Any other thoughts?
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause? Facts that would reasonably persuade an impartial and reasonable mind not merely to suspect or conjecture, but to believe a violation has occurred.
Yes.
Can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, holding office for a political party?
That is correct. I can confirm that none of those statements apply.
Okay, thank you. So you can see, these are not that hard. We know this is very awkward. You went first, so thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I think I understand the timeline, but that would be the one question I have is if you have any information since we last spoke about what you expect the timeline and time commitment to be.
I think, so you guys might all have this question. So July 24th, our next Board of Selectmen meeting, we'll be finishing up the interviews. We typically wait till the next meeting to see people, but we could decide, since the majority of you are happening today, at that meeting to see people, or we might wait till the August meeting to see people. And then after that, once you guys are seated, you'll have 90 days to complete everything. So you might get it done sooner, or it might take longer, but
Sounds like it's going on.
but it might take longer or be sooner, but it has to be done within the 90 days.
Okay. And actually, one other question. How many people sit on the commission?
Oh, sorry, 5 regular members and 3 alternates. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think I have the alt share one.
It's not working.
Is David Klein, I think he was gonna potentially come later, but I just want to check. Okay. Zach, you're here? Thank you, if you want to come forward. And also, we probably should have introduced ourselves, so we'll do that while you come up, and if you also want to introduce yourself briefly, but I'm Danielle Cheever, I'm the first selectman.
I'm Deborah Downey, I'm selectwoman.
Ben Tansky, so
Yeah.
I'm Zachary Buddha. Can you hear me? Is that
Yes.
okay? I'm Zachary Buddha. I'm 20 years old, resident of Stonington, Connecticut. I've been here for about 3 years now. Formerly, I lived on the Noank side of Groton and in Ledger, Connecticut. I've been in the town for about 3 years now. I moved in with my grandparents when I began my college education at UConn, where I study English and political science. I'm a commuter student, so I do live in Stonington full time, and I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you very much. Ben, can you go first?
Sure.
I'll do the first 2.
I'll do the first 2. We would like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity. In responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations.
So I've served in numerous leadership roles at the University of Connecticut. I served a term as vice president of the student body, then 2 terms as president of the student body, and I currently serve as chief advocacy officer of the Associated Student Government of Avery Point. I'm also a member of the faculty senate, so I represent thousands of students. I have been in very high-level confidential meetings with various administrators and officials, whether they're state level or local level in Groton. I've also, as like an executive, had the unfortunate experience of having to actually mediate and preside over officer removal charges. So that is not something I'm proud of, and it's not something I like to do, but I do have experience in that facet. I currently work as an instructional specialist with the University of Connecticut's Center for Access and Post-Secondary Success, where I teach a class, first year experience class of about 25 students, and I also TA in an English course. And so I have similar experience to my colleague with trying to mediate students who don't necessarily agree. Recently, we had an argument about whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich. So college students can have their own special flair on things.
Excuse me. Thank you. What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
So in all of the leadership roles I've ever held, my primary focus, what I view as like the #1 prerequisite of governance, is integrity. and trust. And so I view this commission as an institution that has been created to ensure that constituents are best represented by individuals who use the responsibilities granted to them by our charter to the best of their ability with proper ethical standards. Again, like any experience I've ever had with ethical codes, no one really reads them until like a problem arises. But it is really important for us to make sure that town leaders, if we expect the constituents of the town of Stonington to respect them and to listen to them and be led by them, to ensure that they are following the standards that they have set for themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I can confirm, your political party is Democrat?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we go into the next two?
Sure.
Please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
I know Robert's Rules of Order. I think that's a benefit. I have a little red book, not that one, but that's not that true. But so obviously I mentioned before my experience serving and mediating and things like that. I think I kind of went into that as much as I could. I guess I could also mention that I've grown up in a very turbulent family, and so I've had to mediate a lot of arguments on that front as well, but that's about all.
Thank you. Have you read the Ethics Commission ordinance, and do you understand the roles and responsibilities of the commission as well as the timeline for this process?
Yes.
Thank you, these are the exciting ones. So should you be selected for this commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you are connected in any manner to this issue, you will immediately step down?
Yes.
Thank you. And are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there's probable cause to move forward?
Yes.
Thank you. And do you want to?
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause? Facts that would reasonably persuade an impartial and reasonable mind not merely to suspect or conjecture, but to believe a violation has occurred?
Yes.
And can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official or justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by a party, any contracts with the town, or holding office for a political party?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being interested in this. Next up, we have Linda Camilio. Go on down.
Sorry.
Linda, while you're coming down, can you confirm that you are a Republican?
Yes, I am.
Those people were your tribunal. Thank you.
I am.
Do you want to switch up? Do you want to start first? Do you want to just take the first two?
Just two? Okay.
Or three? Go for it.
No, two is
Keep
fine.
All of them.
We'd like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity. In responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations, if any.
I think my prior experience as I was a member of a congressional staff for 6 years. Rob Simmons, I worked for him when he was a congressman. And I'm also the retired tax collector, and I was the registrar of Stonington. As far as investigations go, I'm not exactly sure about that, but investigations in the tax office and in the congressional office, we had to solve many cases through different research and other different means. So I think we did, I don't know if you'd call it an investigation, but we had to research tons of cases. And what was the last part of that question, Deb?
No, that was pretty much it.
Oh,
Pertinent
okay.
experience and then the investigation.
Okay.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
Well, I think the primary, obviously there's been a complaint, and so I think our primary responsibility would be to investigate that complaint and to the best of our ability, try to judge fairly.
Please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
Well, I think as tax collector and a member of the congressional staff, I think you have to have high ethical standards. I've taken a lot of classes as tax collector on ethics, and even in the congressional staff, we had to take classes on ethics. So I think the classes on ethics, plus, you know, as tax collector, you have to be an ethical person. If you're not an ethical person, there goes the $80 million you have to collect. So, that's it.
Have you read the Ethics Commission ordinance, and do you understand the roles and responsibilities of the commission as well as the timeline for this
Yes.
ordinance?
So should you be selected to the commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you're connected in any manner, you would immediately step down?
Yes.
Are you aware that the parties, sorry, does this, are you aware that the complaints and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there's probable cause to move forward?
Confidentiality is a huge thing. It was a huge thing in congressional office and even in the tax office. So yes, I am.
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause? Some of you know.
I think you have to read
Okay.
I know the answer is yes, because those two said yes, but I don't know what that means. So yes,
You have to read this, the definition. It's in.
Oh, sorry,
I was
fact,
wondering if I was.
okay, yeah, facts that you would reasonably persuade an impartial and reasonable mind not merely to suspect or conjecture, but to believe to be a violation of the code.
yes.
Okay.
That I
I
understand.
shouldn't read the others later. And then the last one is, can you confirm that you don't have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for any public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, or hold office within any political party?
Right, I'm no longer an elected official.
Perfect, thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I see Randy. Oh, there you go. Okay. Nope, so you just want to, say your name for the record, and then we'll launch into our questions. Oh, yeah. And will you confirm that you are a Republican?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
My name's Randy Lee. Lived in the town for 30 years now.
Thank you. Do you want to start?
All right, is this on? I think it is. Is this on? We'd like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity. And in responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations, if any.
Well, as a landlord for over 35 years now, for at some points over hundreds of apartments, I've had my fair share of dealing with issues between tenants. He said, she said, many different things, even dealing with arms and everything else at some points with the law. And getting down to brass tacks, treating each person respectfully, but getting to truth was always very important. And I had a lot of experience with that.
Okay, I'm going to the
Yeah.
second. What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
I think our primary duties is, once we start the process, is respecting each party until we get the facts, figure them out, research them, and then make our suggestion. But respect on both sides has always been very important to me.
Thank you. Could you please also describe any other skills or experience that you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission?
Other than what I've already said? I don't know, I'm a truthful person myself. And, oh, well, even though I don't have to have a real estate license, I do, because I'm an owner, I don't need it. And we have to take ethics classes every other year. And so that really helps you, remind you of proper ethics.
That's great, thank you. And then could you also confirm if you read the ethics ordinance and you understand the roles, responsibilities, as well as the timeline?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Should you be selected for this commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you are connected in any manner to the complainant or the subject of the complaint, that you will immediately step down from the commission?
Definitely.
Are you aware that the complaints and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes, very important.
Yeah, sure. Are you aware of the standards for probable cause?
Yes. Yes, I am.
And can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or party to any contract with the town, or holding office for any political party?
I am not involved in any of those.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions, Sarah? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have Robert Taylor. Thank you, Robert.
Sure.
And while you're coming down, can you confirm that you are opposed?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. That's very true. Then do you want to confirm?
We would like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity. In responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations before.
Sure. Before I do that, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Rob Taylor. Excuse me, I have some allergies today. Lived in Stonington for 13 years. Prior to that, my wife and I raised 3 children in Simsbury. One of our sons now lives in Stonington with his wife and 3 children. As to relevant experience, I've been a member of the Connecticut Bar for 40-plus years now, I'm sorry to believe. And I practice primarily in the corporate and bank regulatory areas. I'm currently in the New York office of a firm named Pearson Ferdinand. Before that, I spent 40 years at Day Pitney in Hartford as an attorney. And in my corporate practice, I have frequently represented clients looking at ethics investigations of wrongdoing or alleged wrongdoing by officers. For example, a loan officer who was alleged to be taking kickbacks from a loan officer, from a borrower of the bank. And I've had multiple ethics investigations. I've actually even drafted code of ethics for clients from time to time, and they are surprisingly similar to the town's code of ethics.
Thank you. What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
I believe it's to follow the rules laid out for the commission in the code of ethics and to apply those rules evenly and fairly, as all the others have stated.
One more. Please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
Well, my legal experience, as I mentioned, I also, it's certainly not directly relevant, but while we lived in Simsbury, I served on the town's tax relief commission, which was charged with reviewing and updating, revising the town's tax laws so that, it's municipal experience, even though not investigative experience.
I don't think we have one of those. I'm like, oh, we should look at that. Thank you. Have you read the Ethics Commission ordinance, and do you understand the roles, responsibilities of the commission and the timeline?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. Should you be selected for the commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that you would step down immediately?
Certainly.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Let me just do the rest.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes, I am, and I would say as a attorney, I'm very familiar with confidentiality requirements.
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause?
Yes, I am.
I'm not even gonna read it to an attorney. And can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, or holding office for a political?
Yes, I can confirm all of that, but I would point out, I don't think it's an issue, but my daughter-in-law, Sarah Welch, serves on the town's Economic Development Commission as an alternate member, and I don't think that's a conflict under the rules, but I just want to point that out.
Thank you for being so forthcoming, and thank you to Sarah for doing great work on the Economic Development Commission. Do you have any questions for us?
I do not.
Right.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up, I think is Jean Meyer.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'm going to hand things over to Ben, but can you confirm for us that you're a Democrat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity, and in responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations.
Sure. I'm a retired Air Force colonel with 25 years of service, and in the entire time I was a judge advocate as an attorney. So through the 25 years, did both criminal investigations and prosecutions, and then probably even more relevant, 2 assignments working as the senior legal advisor to the Air Force Inspector General, where we investigated administrative complaints against general officers.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary functions of the Ethics Commission?
Well, the specific responsibility, I think, here is to investigate the complaints that have come before the commission, but I think it's also important, which we did numerous times while investigating complaints against general officers, is to find those spots where maybe standards are missing or could be tweaked, or just kind of looking to the future as well. Like, what could we clarify that might be useful for people in the future? So there's both a current and kind of like a broader future role as well.
Please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
I have interviewed more people than I can count, some of who want to be interviewed, some who don't. Writing reports, kind of dealing with, all levels and all types of people, from the basic airman up to the 4-star general, and the different skills it takes to interview everybody at those different levels.
Selectmen members.
Oh, what's going on? What you remember now? Oh,
3 weeks.
no, oh,
You just did.
Oh,
No, I
just
didn't
take-
hear.
oh, I did take it right. I'm sorry.
that's not.
I probably didn't even have one.
Keep giving me.
Thank you so much for applying for this. So it seems like you have, but can you confirm that you've read the Ethics Commission ordinance, you understand the roles, responsibilities, and the timeline?
Yes,
Thank you. And can you also confirm that if you were selected and made aware of the complaint, if you were connected in any manner, you would immediately step down?
yes.
Thank you.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes,
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause?
yes,
Can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, or holding office for a political party?
correct. I can confirm none of those are true.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much.
Roll a little bit.
I get it.
Ben and I both in here since 4 for another meeting. Thank you very much. I'm gonna just jump back up on David Klein. Okay, nope, okay. John Godin. I saw you here. As you approach the bench, no, as you come down, can you confirm that you are still a Republican?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
I'm still a Republican. Thank you.
Sure. Good evening.
How you doing, Ben?
We'd like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity, and in responding, please expand on prior experience you have in investigations, if any.
So, professional life, I am a GE Capital retiree. I was with them for 25 years. Prior to that, I was with JP Morgan Chase. So my background is banking, but my last 6 years at GE was in what is called information governance, data privacy, and compliance. From the perspective of, as we sold GE Capital, what I did was help all of the 23 businesses that divested from GE get ready for litigation and tax defense, making sure that buyers of the assets got the records they needed. So it was highly confidential, highly sensitive, and most of the folks that I worked with were attorneys, counsel, compliance. That's the professional background. From a volunteer standpoint, high level, I was vice chair and chair of the Board of Finance in the town of Newtown, Connecticut. I was a member of the Board of Assessment Appeals for 5 years. I vice chaired one charter revision commission. I chaired another charter revision commission. I was a member of the Economic Development Commission for this town. I am your head moderator now and have worked in election compliance enforcement, so to speak, for 24 years in the state of Illinois and in Newtown and here in Stonington. So, one clarification, as a head moderator, I'm an employee of the town for about 2 days a year. So I'll just make that fact known, but I am certified and employed by the Secretary of State. So that, just want to clarify that, okay? So that's kind of the background. I have an MBA in finance and undergraduate in marketing.
And what is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
The Ethics Commission's primary function is to get impartial folks who can look at the facts to make a determination relevant to probable cause. At which point the parties, if probable cause is identified, have a certain period of time to remedy or come to a resolution. If that does not happen, then the next step of the organization of the Board of Ethics is to go to a hearing process that is governed by the rules of the ordinance.
And please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission. Thank you.
So I'll give you 2 examples. One is from a GE perspective. I found a lot of folks who tried to steal intellectual property during the sale of GE Capital. So I literally we have an investigation, we talk to compliance, we talk to counsel, we remedy it, and move on. That happened a few times. I think the closest I get from an investigation standpoint is I did over 500 assessment appeals and hearings for the town of Newtown over 3 different reval periods, 2007, 2012, and I think it would be 2017. So when you have 500 hearings of 500 constituents, you really have to be impartial about what is going on in each case, because they're all publicly documented with minutes, and the outcomes are not always favorable.
Thank you very much. So should you be selected for this commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that you would immediately step down?
I would remove myself immediately.
And have you read the ethics ordinance, and do you understand the roles and responsibilities of the commission as well as the timeline?
I have.
Thank you very much. I should feel like talking more.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yeah, and I'll also bring up that I've been in a lot of executive sessions tied to the Sandy Hook shooting with respect to school security and litigation. I know the sensitivity of this. Obviously, it's on a different playing field, but I'm very sensitive to that.
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause?
Yes, I am.
can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, holding office for a political party, and I know you mentioned.
I mentioned head moderator, so everyone knows I get paid twice a year, under $1,000.
So just so you know, and everybody knows, we will just double check that with the town attorney that goes through this, but I know some of you are probably leaving, so I just want to say, I'm just so blown away by everybody who's interviewed so far. Just thank you all so much. You have such a diverse background. It seems like you're all really here for such wonderful reasons, and like we said, we can only select 8 people, so I hope some of you come back. We have other boards and vacancies that we very much welcome people on, so I'm just going to plug that while we have some of you here. But John, thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have Jody.
I'll say it, Kabachka.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't even want to try.
It's the story of my life.
And can you confirm that you're a Democrat?
Yeah.
Thank you. And if I've been asked his first question, if you want to, like everybody else, introduce.
Okay, yeah, my name is Jody Kabachka. We live in Pawcatuck. I have 2 kids, a husband. We've lived there for 3 years now. We lived in Ledyard previously. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay, we'd like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity, and in your responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations.
Okay, so my background has been in director of operations roles and director of HR roles for a number of various companies and organizations, from nonprofits to profit, to humane societies, basically. So I feel like in those roles, especially in the HR role, you are constantly investigating and trying to get to the bottom of things. One organization that I work for in particular, we actually wrote the HR manual for the company, so we really had to draw back and take a look at how to make things as fair and equitable across the board for everyone employed. Specifically, I've served on jury duty, but no real, other than investigating, issues at work and investigating issues that come up at home with my kids. No formal investigation background.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary functions commission?
Like Laura, I feel like my responsibility here is as a community member and to perform a community service, but also agree with what the others have said, or believe with what the others have said, that we have a job. We will be tasked with getting to the bottom of the case that's brought forward.
Please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
In my role as HR director, I feel like I really learned how to listen to all sides of a story and come up with the best solution possible. Might not be the most popular solution, but you have to try to find the fairest and most equitable solution. And my degree is in psychology, so through that I studied, there's a lot of ethics that comes to play when you're studying psych, depending on your path.
Thank you. So again, have you read the Ethics Commission ordinance, and do you understand the roles, responsibilities, and the timeline?
Yep.
Thank you. And if you were selected for the commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you're connected in any manner, you would immediately step down?
Of course.
Thank you.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes,
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause?
yes,
Can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, holding office for a political party?
yes.
Do you have any questions, Russ?
Just the typical, I understand it has to be resolved in 90 days or a response in 90 days. What's the typical, like, weekly time commitment? I know that's probably hard to say depending on the case that's brought forward,
No,
but I'm
it's
just
okay.
trying to get an idea of that.
It's a great question. I think when we see everyone, they would talk together. You guys might decide just to do once a month, and you might get this done in 3, 4, however many meetings it takes, or you might decide you want to just get it done quickly. And depending on people's schedules, as well as us finding available room space, which can be challenging, you could meet more frequently. But it'll really be up to the members to decide on a consensus. As I think a lot of we haven't maybe ever done this, at least not in anyone who's been here past history, so you're making history. But you'd be able to set it, and I love, I think what Jean had said too, I mean, you can also be kind of shaping maybe the future and giving us feedback on the ordinance, but as it stands now, it would really be up to you all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Thank you very much. And I think that said David Klein had arrived. There you go. So if you want to come down, thank you very much. And then we'll do, is Alyssa here? We'll do Alyssa and then Karen, and then that would conclude it, because I believe Dawn and Mark are for July 24th. Thank you. So thank you very much.
Evening. We'd like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity and responding. Please expand on prior experience you have with investigations, if any.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any direct experience with investigations, of course. I'm just doing this as a citizen, as a way to get involved and contribute in some way to my community. I think I do have the capacity to listen carefully to all sides. Early in my work career, I was a journalist for 4 or 5 years. So, I had to adhere to the standard of ethics at my place of employment, which was fairly strict as far in this way too, as far as gifts and perks and things that you might get from the people that you were writing about or talking to. So I think that was helpful. I currently run my own business. I own a golf practice range in Madison, which I got held up at tonight. That's why I'm late. But so I have to deal with employees all the time and issues regarding the employees. Sometimes there are little conflicts, not necessarily between employees, but just personnel issues. People are people, and there's always something. And it's a customer service role as well, where you're dealing with clients, and you have all different kinds of personalities to handle and cope with, and hopefully you do it better than worse. But you have to be flexible. You have to look at the situation and balance different people's needs and their perceptions and their personalities and the way they react to different circumstances as well. And so I think I can do that. I think I can work well with a group of people. I can listen and engage constructively. I think I have communication skills. So when it comes to writing, I've learned as a journalist to be direct, to the point, keep it simple, not keep focused on subject, on topic, not get too distracted by, the weeds.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
Well, it's to fairly adjudicate, issues that come before the town that appear to possibly overstep the boundaries of the ordinance that the town has adopted. So you have to use the ordinance as a guideline, but you don't want to be rigid about it either. You have to look flexibly and look at the circumstances of the particular incident, whatever it might be. And, there is some judgment to be made here as to, does it cross the line or not? And the ordinance itself isn't that rigid. It's, it's not like it's laying out particular case studies of, that you have to refer to and use as a guide. But, the ordinance is there and you have to respect it.
Please describe what skills and experience you uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
I think I've kind of already done that.
Great, you're streamlining it. Thank you. So again, just to confirm, you've read the Ethics Commission, understand the roles and responsibilities and the timeline?
Yeah, 90 days, yes.
And then also, if you are selected for the commission and are made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you're connected in any way, you would immediately step down?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes.
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause, which is facts that would reasonably persuade an impartial or reasonable mind not to merely suspect or conjecture, but to believe a violation has occurred?
Yes.
Can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, or holding office for any political party?
Yeah, none of the above.
Thank you. David, do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And again, we
Thank
won't
you.
hold it against anybody if you guys leave, but thank you very much.
Sure, no problem.
Is
Thank you.
Alyssa Morrison here? Thank you, sorry, right in front of me. Hi. Hi, how are you? I'm sorry to yell at you, David, from over there, but can you, I forgot to ask you, can you confirm you're a Democrat?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Alyssa, can you confirm you're a Republican? Thank you, all right, then you can start.
I got it first. Hi, Allison.
Thanks,
I'd like to know,
It's Elisa.
we would like to know what pertinent experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity and in responding. Please expand on the prior experience you have with investigation.
Sure. It's an interesting question. So in my current job, I actually work for Norwich Public Utilities. We've had a little ethics issue up there in the past couple of years. So since then, they've actually impaneled an ethics committee that I'm on. And so I sit on the ethics committee. We meet twice a month, and with various complaints coming in about financial misdoings, but there's a lot of issues that come up in front of us. People complain about things. So we do investigate ethics complaints on a regular basis, twice a month. As part of that, I also work with unions up there and do union negotiations. I'm in the water department, and we have 3 different unions, which is a lot of interesting negotiation tactics, giving one union wants one thing, the other union. I mean, most recently, one union wanted a half-an-hour lunch, the other ones didn't want lunch, they wanted to leave at 3 o'clock. And both unions sort of needed the same thing, but then they didn't want the same thing. So now we have some people working till 3:30, some people working till 3. It's kind of a nightmare. So I do that at work. And I'm a manager, so I manage a bunch of different complaints. I think I have 10 reports, always managing something going on between the plant operators, the plant mechanics, who's allowed to hold a wrench, who's not allowed to hold a wrench, things like.
Sorry.
Just looking for a Robert McMillan.
Yeah.
This guy real quick?
In terms of investigations, because I do a lot, we investigate things at work on a lot of different things. And I sat on the Board of Ed for a while in town, and we did have an independent investigation of a complaint.
Thank you, sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. Good thing you wasn't
What's your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
I think one of the good things about going last is I can just say, what everyone else said. There has been from what I understand, there's been a complaint, and our role would be to investigate the complaint in a fair and impartial manner according to the code of ethics in town.
And please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission. Kind of repeated before.
I know, it's a little bit of the
I have to
first
repeat it.
but I can talk about, my experience. I've been on a lot of boards and commissions in town, and I'm a fair listener. I don't go in with any kind of preconceived ideas. Not that I can be swayed, but I'll listen to both sides of an argument or discussion and listen to the facts and base everything on the facts and not be swayed by emotions or, not be swayed by emotions.
Thank you. These are probably more simple now. Can you confirm, it sounds like you have, but just for the record, that you've read the ethics ordinance and you understand the roles, responsibilities, and the timeline?
Yes.
Thank you. And that also, if you were selected for the committee, made aware of the complaint, can you confirm that if you're connected in any manner, you would immediately step down?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes.
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause?
Yes. I read all those crime shows and stuff. I think I'm practically a lawyer.
Can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, or holding office for a political party?
Yes. No. Yes.
Yep.
What's right? Yes.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I just wanted to add one thing, because I sort of forgot, because I talk fast and my mind races, that as part of my job now, we go to a lot of ethics workshops, seminars, classes. We have in-house training on ethics, because of, it's Norwich.
Thank you very much. All right, so there's
Thanks.
nothing else that you're saying for the next
I'll see you in
round,
I'll see you in 5 minutes.
We're gonna take a break.
Just keep my seat warm.
And then last up, we have Karen Moore.
Hi,
Can you just confirm that you're registered with Democratic?
I am.
First question, we'd like to know what written experience you have in a professional or volunteer capacity, and in responding, please expand on prior experience you have with investigations.
I have more than a decade of experience managing proactive and reactive individual and corporate due diligence, research and reporting for large Washington DC based nonprofits, including the headquarters of the Red Cross and the AARP Foundation. The topics we covered included legal, moral, and ethical issues, conflicts of interest, disclosure or lack thereof, and similarly sensitive topics. The reports were confidential, and they were used to inform and advise regarding actions, relationships, or associations that could damage the organization's reputation, impugn its credibility, introduce legal issues, or other prospective liabilities.
That's the first question.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Ethics Commission?
My opinion or my understanding? Both? Okay. All right.
I'm only reading what I'm doing.
My understanding of it is that we investigate the complaint, determine whether there's sufficient evidence to move to a hearing with an eye towards safeguarding the public trust and protecting the reputation of the town.
And please describe what skills and experience you would uniquely bring to the Ethics Commission.
More than a decade of investigative research and reporting and managing departments that do that.
Thank you. You can take the easy one. Have you read the Ethics Commission ordinance? It sounds like you have, and do you understand the roles, responsibilities, as well as the timeline?
I have read it, I tracked it.
You read it. Thank you. And then, can you also confirm that if you are selected or are made aware of the complaint, that if you're connected in any manner, you would immediately step down?
Yes.
Thank you. You tell which questions our attorney helped us draft.
Are you aware that the complaint and the parties must by state law remain confidential unless the commission finds there to be probable cause to move forward?
Yes,
Are you aware of the standard for probable cause?
yes,
Can you confirm that you do not have any current ties to the town, including that you are not an elected official, justice of the peace, holding or campaigning for public office, employed by or a party to any contracts with the town, or holding office for a political party?
I'm a member of the Democratic Town Committee, but that's it.
Do you have any questions for us?
When was the Ethics Commission last impaneled?
We think never. It's like really reassuring. No, yeah, our understanding is that since the ordinance has been in place, it's never met the threshold.
Got
So you all would be the first.
Okay, all right.
I thank you very much, thank you. And again, like you said, just so you all know, on July 24th, we'll be doing 2 more interviews. We may or may not make a decision at that meeting. If not, we do it during our August meeting. We're gonna move into now our interviews for Planning and Zoning Commission, and then onto our regular meeting area. Again, everyone's welcome to stay, but you're also very welcome to leave. Thank you all very much. All right, thank you. So I think, Elisa, if you want to come back down, you said your name right this time, so you can go back down, and now we're gonna, they are slightly different questions for Planning and Zoning Commission. But
I have different answers, so that's
being
okay.
here with us, and then just so you know, Fran Hoffman, John Prue, and Bennett Brissett were all interviewed on June 26th. Debbie wasn't there for that meeting, but she's watched them all, and obviously now she's here.
Yeah, thank you for accommodating.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming in, and again, we won't make a decision tonight, we'll likely make a decision at our next meeting, so thank you. Do you want to start?
Sure.
I don't get to hear the questions first this time, so.
On the spot.
No, on the spot.
They're pretty tough ones. We'd like to know what pertinent experience you have serving on a board, commission, or in another volunteer capacity, and responding, please expand on what roles you play and what impact you have.
Sure. So I moved to Stonington in 1996, and I really wanted to get involved in the town. I was young, and I wanted to serve the town the best way I knew how. And I'm a professional engineer in Connecticut. I've been a professional engineer since I was younger, when I graduated from college. And so I decided planning and zoning was the best way to serve the town with my education and background. And so I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 12 years. I started with Bob Granato, who was chair. And at that time, there were no term limits, but then while I was on, they put term limits on. And so I was term limited out. I was an alternate for, I think, 2 years, and then served part of someone's term. But I think it was on for various, I was on for 12 years. And so when I was thrown off of planning and zoning because of term limits, I moved to wetlands. So my background is I have a bachelor's and master's in civil engineering, and I have a doctorate in environmental science. So I thought the best way, since I couldn't be on planning and zoning anymore, was to move to wetlands, because a lot of my doctoral work was on wetlands and restoration and conservation. So I did that. And then, I think at that time there were term limits, but we would move back and forth from alternate to this, and then, so then I was on that, and then I was asked to run for Board of Ed. And so I ran for Board of Ed, and Board of Ed took a lot of time. So I was on Board of Ed for 2 terms, but the middle of this is a long answer, right? In the middle of my second term, I had to get off because I had some health issues, and I was having some problems with my eyes, and I couldn't see. So I got off, and then I ran again and got on again. So 2.5 terms, I guess that would have been. Yeah. And so that's why, so my love and my passion is planning and zoning. And I've always wanted to get back on, and this just seems like a good time. My career has turned, I used to work up in I always mess this up, Plainville. I would say Plainfield, but it wasn't. When I applied, I thought it was Plainfield, but then it turned out to be Plainville, which was like an hour and 20 minutes from here. So, I was working a lot, but now I work, as I said before, in Norwich. And and my kids are gone, and it would be a great time for me to get back into the planning and zoning. I've also, when I was on planning and zoning, and even after that, I helped, who was the planner that day? It was Jason Vincent was the planner, and Joe Bergal was the director of public works, and we redid the zoning regulations a little bit to take out the technical stuff and put that into the technical standards. So I helped write those. And then as part of that, we also started the Stormwater Task Force to work with the MS4 system and do the required NIPD's permitting for that. And I also, this has nothing to do with planning and zoning, but a little bit to do with planning and zoning. At some other point, it was probably like 2000, and I don't even remember, I got really interested in affordable housing, so I went to Bill Brown, who was the first selectman at the time, and asked him if we could start an affordable housing commission. And so I chaired that for a couple of years, and as part of that, we got $15,000 from 3 different groups, 5,000 each, to write a plan. We hired Planometrics to do the plan, and we wrote the affordable housing plan that I think has never got officially adopted through planning and zoning. I think that might just about sum up most of it in a nutshell. But like I said, planning is always, I've always wanted to get back on planning, and because of the way things have been working with my life, this is a great time for me to do it. I can dedicate a lot of time to it. My job now, I run the water department at Norwich Utilities, so I have a lot of experience in that. As part of my career, my professional career, I've worked for a lot of engineering land development companies. I worked for Lorero Engineering for a while. I worked for Sharenzia for a while. I worked for DeCesar Bentley for a while. Lorero bought DeCesar Bentley. I don't know that history, but so I know both sides of the table. I know what it is to be a developer and to come in, or an engineer. I can understand plans, and I know it from the zoning side. So I know, the planning and zoning. There's a lot of different hats they wear. They wear the legislative hat. They wear the regulatory hat, and so I understand sort of a lot of the finer points of planning and zoning from both sides, and wetlands. And how to balance planning versus conservation, I think, is really important. Is that too long an answer?
No, there's nothing. I'm also making a note about the original housing plan. Do you know what year that was?
I would say it was 2007 or 8, yeah. And it was done by Planometrics.
Different
Still
board,
on
but
town website.
you need to, yeah,
It's
be
still on
sure.
the website.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the history, the Affordable Housing Committee, we weren't disbanded, but then we were not taken, I don't know, we morphed into the Stonington Housing.
Authority.
No, it was a different one. The Stonington, there's another one. That's part of what Kate Carib is involved with now.
Yeah.
That group. And so I was involved with that for a little bit, and then got off of that.
Thank you. You might pick your brain on that separately.
Yeah,
later.
no, we did a lot of work on that.
Do you want to do the second one?
Sure. You missed one, facilities.
Oh, I forgot the facilities committee, I'm sorry, you're right. We actually shortened the name, because it used to be the committee to look at all the top facilities, and Bill was on that committee. What was the name of it?
I was never on that committee.
But it was really, really long name, and then we shortened it to the Stonington Facilities Committee.
The word infrastructure originally appeared.
Yeah, I did forget one. There must have been some other committee.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I think there's a lot of function. I mean, they have 3 different roles. They have the legislative role, they have the regulatory permitting role. I think they have so many different roles in town. They have to look at planning and they have to look at zoning, which are 2 totally different things. Groton, for a long time, and they have since split, but they were merged. They had a planning and a zoning commission as different commissions. And I thought that was really interesting, because they do need to work together, but they're in some way. But planning is reaching far and looking at, what are we gonna do in the future, sort of with the plan of conservation and development, and writing that and implementing that. And then there's the zoning part, which is much more regulatory. You have the zoning regulations, and you pretty much, that's what it is, and you have to approve them if that's what, there's the special use permits and all that stuff that does give you some leeway. But there's just different, and then there's the people who, so there's a lot of different roles.
Thank you. You clearly have a lot of knowledge on this. The last question, this one's only 3. Could you describe your, which I think you've already gone into, but if there's anything you missed, your relevant professional experience and any specific skill set that you think you bring to the commission?
I think I really went through that probably too much, but like I said, I've been working as a professional engineer, doing land development and and utility work. So right now I'm doing water, so, and we're building a new wastewater plant up there, so we're doing a lot of construction up there. So, I think I've really gone through most of my experience. Like I said, I've done both sides of the table. I've worked for 20 years as as an engineer. I also, I taught civil engineering at Three Rivers for 22 years. I have a background in GIS. I do a lot of GIS work. And that's most of the affordable housing plan is a lot of GIS, spatial analysis work. I go to a lot of workshops and classes and conferences now to keep current on things that are going on. There's a lot of stuff going on now in terms of, there's just a lot of stuff going on now with EPA regulations. Lead copper is going to be huge in terms of PFAS is going to be huge in terms of it doesn't, you might not think it affects planning and zoning, but it really does. It affects everything. I had the lead copper program in Norwich, and it's millions of dollars.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. Do you guys have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, there's one. Just wondering what familiarity you might have with the current rewrite process that's going on and any comments on how that's progressing.
I know what's going on. I think I think there's work to be done on the zoning regulations. Last time I read them thoroughly when I was working and doing some things in town. They were long and confusing, and I don't know really what they're talking about, but it would be good to make them more streamlined and make them easier to understand. Some of it is just organizational, put this here, but I think there's some things in the zoning regulations that have to be looked at now. Short-term rentals are huge, and how do we attack that as a town? That's a question that I'm not, that's a huge issue. And I think there's things that need to be in the zoning regulations that maybe aren't yet. Things in terms of how do you better protect areas and encourage development where it needs to go. I think one of the, and I think we have to not look at the issues in town and say, we want this to happen, so how can we, make the regulations to help facilitate those things? The HI zone clearly needs a big overhaul. It didn't work when they wrote it, it's still vacant. The movie theater property, there's some plans for that. I think but tighten up those regulations. I know there's some constraints with the bridge at the exit, and it's not really a full off-on. So I think that needs to be looked at. Some of these, I think, does that answer your question? I think encouraging infilling and looking at underutilized areas in town, underutilized buildings, parking lots that might be too big, ways to change a huge parking lot, like Big Y has an enormous parking lot. And, is there a way to put something else there, like another building or something to use that space that's clearly not used for parking, which sort of brings us to, I don't know if this is a planning and zoning thing or just a town general thing, but with all this impervious area. And I want to say I'm a big conservationalist, but I think conservation is important, but it has to be conservation and planning have to be balanced together. You can't say we're going to conserve all this area because that doesn't make sense on the grand list, it doesn't make sense for the town. But when you talk about building things, and you talk about runoff and stormwater, looking at something like a stormwater utility in town, Stonington was a pilot town for that. Don't ask me what year. Do you remember what year?
No, I don't, but.
There was us in New London, there was
Yeah.
4 towns in Connecticut that we were a pilot program. At that time, stormwater utilities were not allowed legislatively in the state. And I know our state rep fought that for a long time, and they are now. So, looking at that and how would you implement that fairly? It's I can go on that tangent, but that's a whole different tangent. So I think the zoning regulations, like I said, I haven't dived into the rewrite. But it would be something I would be really interested in working on because, like I said, I did a lot of the rewriting of the zoning way back when with some of the old planners.
Thank you.
And the technical, when we took all the technical standards and wrote those down.
we might have to follow up about stormwater, utility, and housing. So thank you. You gave us a lot of really good information. Do you have any questions for us? Okay. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And again, you're welcome to stay, but we also understand you need to go. All right, now probably what some of you have been waiting for, we're on to public comment. Do you want to come up? Yep, come on up. This one? We'll all share one microphone.
Good evening. It's Blunt White, 77 Collins Road, Stonington. And I was last here on the 12th of June to speak with you and deliver a letter about concerns about transparency in the zoning rewrite. And the key issue in that letter was that you were providing a week's notice to a virtual public meeting. And the public meeting was an info session for folks to learn about the zoning rewrite. And so I had an issue with the 1 week notice and asked in the letter for you to consider holding an actual meeting where people could see each other's faces and we could see the commissioners and the commissioners could see us and we could whisper back and forth in the crowd, about our individual concerns as a community, because this affects a lot of people. And just the flood regulations piece affects about 20% of the homes in Stonington. There's about 6,500 of them, and there's about 1,200 properties that are subject to the look-back period, and that's the piece where the consultant is recommending that it be changed from 1 year to 3 years. And so that's something that a lot of people, I think, would be interested in learning about. And then the issue about rezoning properties, that affected like another 400 homes. And so I think there's a mismatch between the way you're going about the presentation to the public, and that you need to get more public involvement. And for example, here's the minutes that were from the public info session that was held on June 26th. And there's one sentence: the public presentation included questions and answers from virtual attendees following presentation of each individual recommendation. So there's nothing about what the public was concerned about or what was presented, and that just really isn't satisfactory. I mean, when you look at the minutes from the planning and zoning meeting, there's every comment is who spoke for or against, or general comment. It's all there. And so I talked to Clifton about it, and he said we could watch the YouTube, but that's really not satisfactory. I mean, there needs to be a way for a member of the public to look to see what happened. And so then that's where you go to the minutes and see what happened. And so you can't tell it from these minutes. And there was no record of how many people were on the call. And when the commissioners spoke, there was no roll call. And the only commissioner that spoke was the chairman. So we didn't even know if the other commissioners were on the call. Clifton said they were on the call, and I believe him, but it just is not, it's just not professional. And it's not up to your game. I mean, you guys, I know you can do better than this. And there was no record of the members who spoke and what they spoke about and what FHI, the consultant, was recommending to do. And my advice would be break this into pieces. The first piece is the flood piece with the look back period. You have all those names of people that have flood policies in town. It's part of your flood management role. And so you could easily send them a notice that this is coming, that the consultant has recommended 3 years and it's 1 year now. So that's a big change. And advise them that they could go and speak at a public comment like I'm doing right now. Go to the planning and zoning meeting. At the start of each meeting, they could speak to the commissioners, because the commissioners have been listening to FHI, and I think it's an echo chamber. And I don't think they're getting, there was how many people were on the call? Well, I was on the call, and there were not a lot of people talking. Maybe 6 people spoke. I don't know how many people were on the call, and so was that a good public info session? There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Blunt. And without taking up too much time, because I know we have a lot, again, the offer to come in and sit and talk more and go through things stands, and you said you might call tomorrow. But also just to say, since you had shared information, I did meet with both our town planner and I talked with the chair of planning and zoning. Since that time, they've posted something on the town website that gives, I think, a better enhanced overview of the process. But again, people are welcome to read it, still give feedback if you have more questions or thoughts on the process as laid out. We're also going to talk about this probably during public comment, if hopefully we have time. But the plan is hopefully to go to the Board of Finance. I'm looking in the back because one of the members, two of the members are here. Anybody else? To talk about doing a mailer, because that was, I thought, a great suggestion that was brought up to potentially all property owners, all taxpayers in town. And similarly, in addition to the planning and zoning information, we might be able to double utilize it, that we have a new town app that will be coming out, again, trying to better connect with residents and have more real-time information. So we could also use that as an opportunity to talk about releasing the app, and a lot of this information could be on there. We can share feedback about the minutes, and the roll call is an excellent point. I would say though, I think our board, as you can see, we're recorded now, this is new, planning and zoning, recording things and recording these special meetings. I mean, we are trying to be more transparent, recording things so you can actually see everything versus reading a summary. I think because it was more of an informal, not kind of info session was why, but I think it's still fair feedback that we can give about possibly more detailed minutes, but they are recorded because we want to be more transparent. But we can go through any other items. And I believe at maybe the next planning and zoning meeting, the chair had said they were going to have more time to talk about the process feedback. So I'll try and find out stuff before we have a meeting, or maybe even bring the chair in for that meeting. And did you want to say anything? No. Not?
No, I was gonna comment on it later.
During public comment, okay. I should have waited during, sorry, summertime. Any other public comment? Yes, Robert, if you wanted to say your name for the record, you can use that one, or we could just keep it.
I don't think I need
that. Okay.
My name's Bob McMillan. I'm twice a resident of Stonington, and the second time's been the last 16 years. I'm a retired manufacturing executive, which in part brought me back here. But I live across from the Pawcatuck Shopping Center, deep in that neighborhood, down on Shea Drive, which is toward the end. So I drive one south every day, multiple times. Since I've been retired, I drive it more. I'll start a little history. I got very involved and concerned about Gary Piver's death, which was a year ago in March, across from the bar down by Davis Standard. And hopefully that'll resolve itself this Friday. But in getting involved in that, I started to notice what was going on in South Broad Street. And I saw veterans and scooters and carts and older people walking with canes and everything else in the road. And I was very happy to see them start the sidewalk that was supposed to be contiguous from Stonington High School through Mayflower Avenue, which means you could walk and get to a drugstore, and you could walk into Pawcatuck if you wanted to. The best thing that's happened since then is that little store that popped up, so most people can get there. So I'm very concerned with safety of people who can't drive, don't drive, staying off the streets and being safe getting to and from where they want. And with all of the housing clustered on that street, there's a lot of people that might be involved. So I was very happy to see the project last year of doing the sidewalk. I was disappointed that it seemed to grind to a halt. Some of the legislatures appeared before the Stonington Men's Group in January, and Heather Summers answered the question that they had run into some problems with zoning and everything else, but they'd be back at it in the spring, and it'd be done by the end of spring. Well, I waited till the end of spring, and I've talked to Heather Summers and talked to Danielle tonight. It's the first time I've met Danielle. And obviously there's a bunch of problems with across from the Pawcatuck Shopping Center, getting the sidewalk through at least those three properties. Those seems to be the biggest hurdle. And it was implied that there was problems between locally and the state. I'm not sure whether that was true, but that was what I was told. And I guess the thing that will satisfy me, because I want to see that project completed so that people are safe and drivers are safe. And as they build more housing and things like that, there's more and more people trying to get up and down there. So I guess what I really want to know, and my question is, who do I see, who do I talk? I'd like to see the plan for this, and I'd like to be not involved, but to be a witness to the progress and what the holdups are, and, you know, how it's going. And, you know, I've written letters to the editor and they've been published, and, you know, I've gotten some feedback, but nothing very definitive into how they're gonna get through the problems and what the schedule is and how they're spending almost $2 million at least, if not more now, to get that sidewalk done for the right reason, to keep people safe. And it's kind of run aground and amok, and there's no clear view as to where it's going, how it's gonna be resolved, and when it's gonna be complete. And I will not be satisfied until I can see clearly where that's gonna happen. And that's my concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
I know a lot of you and Ben has a deadline, but probably we talked about if we connect, we can talk in person, so it would be probably, I'd be the best person to talk to, and then our planning department. But we could give you an update, and I'm glad 2 of our members of our Board of Finance are here also. 3? Oh my God, Bill, I'm so sorry. I couldn't see you back there. We've got 3, so this is actually, I promise we didn't plant Bob here. But just a very, very high level overview. Actually, just before this, had a special Board of Finance meeting. The existing project ran over versus we were hoping it would actually have a surplus. And so there aren't funds left on that, but it is still it's probably our top priority sidewalk infill project that we have coming up. There are others, but I'd say that's, at least in my opinion, probably the top one. As we talked about, it is really complicated. It didn't meet DOT standards for one of the driveways, and they only let you do a segment, so that's what held up the other 2, so the 3 properties you talked about. But our next steps would be looking for funding for engineering plans, which the Board of Finance was great in the last session. They did give us some money for that. We just have to see if it's enough to finish the engineering plans, see if we can work with DOT. The homeowners have all been great. They're very willing to. It's just we have to meet the technical standards. And then if we can complete the engineering plans, then next fiscal year we go to the Board of Finance for funding to actually complete the segment. But so we can keep talking and keep you updated, and it really is helpful for the board to, they have a lot of competing priorities, to hear that residents do still want it, that it's not done. So thank you for taking the time to be here, and we can exchange information.
No, if you
Oh,
don't.
okay,
You don't.
okay, yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
No, since you're addressing that, I just wanted to ask if you had discussed it with the contractor that did the sidewalks, because I had a conversation with him last fall, and it seemed like it wasn't that big a deal. But
Yes, we can talk more offline, but yes, the contractor had some ideas, how they thought we could maybe meet the DOT standard. So as like we said, we just closed off the existing part of that was permitted and everything. So now would be the time to get started. And like we said, I think we're always optimistic things are gonna go quicker, and they take longer than we would all hope that they would, but we haven't by any means given up on this, and it's still a top priority to finish that last segment, because it is really narrow and a very challenging area that is a big part of the reason why the whole project wanted to happen. So thank you, Bob. Anything else? Any other comments? Right, can I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of June 26, 2024?
so moved.
Even though I wasn't here, I watched the video, so I will second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No.
All right, if not, all those in favor? Aye, motion.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That's all right. Thank you, Stacy. So that moved. Okay, under correspondence, we received applications from Alyssa Morrison and Karen Moore for the Ethics Commission. We clearly did that interview. We also received a notification from Catherine Burnell that she's interested in moving from an alternate to a regular member of the Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Control Board. So we thank her for that, and we'll take action at the next meeting. And then also, sadly, we received a notification from Ben Philbrick that he will be resigning from Planning and Zoning Commission effective July 31st, 2024. Just actually a month before his term ends, and just a big thank you to Ben, because he was actually our previous chair, and it's pretty rare somebody then moves back to being an alternate just to help with the process. So there will be another opening on planning and zoning.
Can I ask a question on that? And I don't know if you can answer this, but because it's coming so soon after this one, will we reopen or will we just fill 2 spots?
We'll have to reopen it because it's an alternate seat versus a regular member. And so people, again, hopefully people who aren't, there's only one person we can select, so hopefully people who are able to would potentially reapply. And we wouldn't necessarily need to re-interview them, they could just reapply. But understandably, some people might not be interested in the alternate seat, and one of the members is already an alternate, so we'll reopen it and see what other applicants we get. So if anybody knows anybody who's interested in planning and zoning, that's open and you can apply. Yeah, for the alternate seat. It's good to know. Some people are like, no, only regular, no alternate. No, thank you. Then, okay, could I get a motion to appoint Donna Elks to the Commission on Aging?
So, second.
You have the mic, so
Any discussion?
No.
All right, just, yeah, a really big thank you. This will help us get closer. It's a very large board. It's something we asked the Charter Commission to look at, potentially reducing the number of seats because it's hard to get a quorum, so a huge thank you for applying. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, could I get a motion to reappoint Laura Hopkins and Doug Rice as regular members, and Myra Urson and Susan Lavender for now as alternate members of the Cultural District Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, thank you to all of them.
Yes, and this is kind of, they're already on there and it's just moving them, But, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, they're doing some great work.
Oh, I should have brought it up in the discussion, but why are there so many positions coming up all at once?
So just because they were a brand new rate commission, so it's just the way that it was kind of first written, it was a very short time frame, and then we had to just reappoint them.
So there'll be
No,
more
it'll be,
staggered.
staggered and
I'll
regular.
figure it out. Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, nothing under old business, new business. Okay, so amendment to, okay, we have some big things, sorry, this has been a busy meeting. We have an amendment to the Town of Stonington 401A plan adoption agreement for Voya retirement insurance and annuity company non-standardized governmental 401A pre-approved plan. All of that is a way of saying, this is a project that was started at the beginning of the year, working with myself, our finance director, our chief of police, our pension counsel, and our director of administrative services, who has sat through all of this very patiently, Patty Bermel, and Patty can provide a summary of the proposed changes to this plan and answer any questions. I'll let Patty have the floor and then I'll make a motion. This is just like real Sherry and Carrie situation happening.
Thank you very much, Danielle. I did provide background to the board in advance of this meeting, which hopefully was very helpful. I'll also walk you through the proposed changes, and when I get to one section of the changes, I'll introduce someone else who's here in support of them. There are 2 separate changes being proposed to the town's 401A plan. That is our defined contribution plan. And changes are made through the adoption agreement. Under the terms of the plan, any changes need to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. I'll start with the first, more simple change, which relates to the fire districts. 2 fire districts participate in the town's retirement plans, fully paid for by the fire districts, Old Mystic and Pawcatuck. The town made the change in July to increase our employer contribution for the 401A plan from 5% to 6%, and the 2 fire districts are just now making that change effective July 1st of this year. So that's one change. The second change is probably more comprehensive, and it's to add a new group to the 401A plan for a limited duration. The background on that is the state of Connecticut has enacted changes to the Connecticut Municipal Employees Retirement System called CMERS plan effective July 1, 2025. This is the retirement plan that our police officers participate in. And with that, I'll just say Bill Turner is the chair of the Board of Police Commissioners. He is here also in support of this. With these changes, they were intended and do reduce the cost to municipalities but they do so in part by having a negative financial impact on those police officers who are closest to retirement. The changes that have the negative financial impact are phasing out and ultimately eliminating the minimum cost of living adjustment, changing the timing of the first cost of living adjustment. In addition, employee contribution rates increase from 7 to 7.5%. As a result of this, the town is looking to put a temporary plan in place to help mitigate the impact of the SEMRS changes to help retain those most impacted by the changes. We're proposing to add full-time police officers that are union members with 10 years or more participation in SEMRS as of July 1, 2024, and non-union full-time officers to the town's 401A plan with town-only contributions of 4% of base salary effective July 1, 2024. This plan will remain in place for 5 years, terminating on June 30th, 2029, and no additional officers will be added after July 1st of this year. This includes 20 police officers. Continuation of this plan is dependent on the savings received by the town of Stonington each year from the changes to SEMRS. The total town contributions to be made to the 401A plan for this group cannot exceed the actual annual savings from SEMRS. Should the total contributions exceed that, we will recalculate them so as they do not exceed those changes. Since the town began discussing this earlier this calendar year, we've lost 4 police officers to retirement. And that includes 1 person leaving in July, and that includes 2 police sergeants. So what we anticipated would happen is happening. So in terms of sequencing of getting us to this proposal today to you all, we worked through the details of how to construct this with town staff with input from our pension council. We also worked with our plan vendor, Voya. We then took this to the retirement board, who approved these recommended changes at their March 4th, 2024 meeting. Tim O'Brien, who is on the retirement board and also the chair of the Board of Finance, had the following comment about the proposed change. Retention of our qualified and dedicated police staff is critical for this town, especially given the influx of visitors over a longer and longer time. Much like what the state is doing, we are constantly evaluating how to retain our people and provide the best service to the town. This move makes complete sense for a multitude of reasons, most of which is assisting to provide consistent public safety for all. We then included this as a line item in the police department fiscal 24-25 budget, discussed, supported by the Board of Finance, and approved in the final town budget. Note that the line item in the budget is $91,982, but with the retirements that have happened, I've calculated this now to be closer to $82,000 for fiscal 24-25, so less than what's in the budget. This was then proposed to the union, who voted to accept this pending final approval from the Board of Selectmen. I will add there's currently 2,800 job openings in towns and cities in Connecticut for police officers, which they consider a crisis mode. The town has hired 6 officers in the last 2 years, and we're still behind the 8 ball. We have 3 openings now. We'll have a 4th one come January. If the town hires a new recruit officer, the time for them to be a full-time officer exceeds a full year between onboarding and attending the academy and their probationary period. Trying to hire an experienced officer, the town ends up competing with every other town in the state. Of our last 6 hires, 3 were new recruits and 3 were experienced officers, all from out of state. In summary, these changes are being proposed to help slow and mitigate the loss of our most experienced officers and police leadership during a time when it is already very difficult to recruit new officers. Ultimately, this is about ensuring continued public safety for the town of Stonington.
Thank you.
And that's my high-level summary.
Any more questions before you?
No, she reached out to me this week and we spoke, and I'm satisfied. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
You want this one?
No, I was going to say the same thing. Patty reached out to me, we spoke, and I think Tim O'Brien's comment summarizes it perfectly.
Yes, Patty, thank you very much for all your work on this. It's been a lot. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the amendment to the town's 401A plan, adoption agreement for Voya retirement insurance and annuity company non-standardized governmental 401A pre-approved plan.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Again, thanks, Patty.
Yeah, I just thank everybody. This is a long time coming, and I think the best way to summarize it for people is really, I mean, this is their money. like kind of we're taking it away, and now we're just giving even just a portion of it back to them. So I think this is really fair, and hopefully you're setting some precedent for a few other towns that are impacted like we are with us. So thank you for all your work on this. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
I'll
you.
give you your microphone back over.
We won't, thank you. We won't hold it against you either if you leave.
That's okay.
Okay, now, okay, last thing and then comments. Still under the timeline. Okay, so we are now at the point of the meeting where we're looking to set the call for a special town meeting on July 22nd, 2024 to consider and vote upon first, a resolution to revise and modify an ordinance of the town of Stonington, Connecticut, providing for an update to the parking and traffic regulations to include town right-of-ways with a definition of said right-of-ways, to authorize the Board of Police Commissioners to establish the areas and to implement policies for electronic aided paid parking, to authorize the town of Stonington to receive and utilize funds from the electronic aided paid parking to maintain the electric aided paid parking, and to support public safety enhancement projects as part of the budgetary process involving the Board of Finance, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to establish the fees for the parking and to increase the fines for violation of the ordinance from $25 to $50. The second one is newer, and I do want to know we have people here from the Portuguese Holy Ghost Society who can speak to it, because I know it's a newer item, is a resolution to adopt an ordinance of the town of Stonington, Connecticut, providing for the partial abatement of taxes for property located at 26 Main Street and owned by the Portuguese Holy Ghost Society, Inc. Said abatement would cap the property taxes against the subject property to no more than $7,500. I'm going to do the whole official thing and then we can discuss it. So be it hereby resolved that pursuant to section 3-3 of the charter, the Board of Selectmen calls a special town meeting for Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. at Stonington High School, 176 South Broad Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, to consider and act upon resolutions as outlined in the notice of special meeting, which will be attached to the minutes of this meeting as Appendix A. I'm actually not gonna make the motion yet, because I feel like there's gonna be, there's someone from the Portuguese Holy Ghost Society who might want to say a few things, and I know you guys might want to have some comments, and in case there's any changes, I will wait for the motion, if that's fine. Okay. So if it's fine, does anybody from can we start with the Holy Ghost Society since they've been waiting? Anybody want to comment or make comments? And also if you guys have questions, because this is newer, if you want to come up. Sure. And just introduce yourself for the record. I think this one might work better.
Thank you. Mark Aruda, 240 Pendleton Hill Road, North Stonington, Connecticut. I'm also the treasurer of the Portuguese Holy Ghost Society. So we are looking for this tax abatement to try to keep our property, the whole place going, really. I think we gave you some financials earlier last week, I believe. And I don't know if you got them. If not, we do. I have some copies here. And as you can see, if you did see that, we're not exactly killing it. We do provide a lot of community service. Just some quick notes. Last year, we gave away $18,000 in scholarships. This year, it was $14,500. We also donated $5,000 towards the monument that's outside here. We also help with the Josh Piver Scholarship. We do our Feast of the Holy Ghost every year, where we feed the masses for free on Sunday. And we do give donations to a lot of the places in town, the library, the VFW, Stonington Cemetery, Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center, and Avalonian. So we just hope we could get this abatement continued so we can keep doing those things. And if you need a copy of our financials, we do have them.
Probably have one.
Yeah, Stacy had sent in a separate,
It was a separate
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sure I have it.
and I just wanted to add to Mark's points before opening it up to questions that, I think this started in 2010. There's a state statute that allows for this. It was passed by town meeting in 2010, 2015, and then in 2019, before we took office. So this is the first time that we're hearing about it, first time you're hearing about it. But just to preface that this has been going on since 2010, it did pass at 3 different town meetings. And the deadline, why this is kind of coming up right now, the deadline is October 1st, if I understand correctly, for the state. So I just wanted to share that. So if you want to ask questions or.
No, I think you put it in a nutshell, just from the history that it's gone before town meeting before. We're not approving tax abatement, we're only sending it to town meeting and let the voters decide, so I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, there's one works, but, no, I'm not gonna stop it from going to town meeting, I just think you may think about some additional information to help the voters. For example, it looks, and I saw it in an email, look quickly, like it's always been the same, like even though, 15 years has passed, you haven't asked for, it hasn't been raised since the 7,500. And at that point, it was, whatever, a 25% abatement, and now, that amount has gone up. And it just might be something to help the voters, so, but again, I'm not gonna stop it from going, it's not our job.
Good point.
And I don't think, it doesn't sound like we're gonna make any amendments to it here, but just to be prepared, I think I shared this when I met earlier. But people can make lifetime motions to adjust, so to Debbie's, so I would just be prepared if someone makes a motion to potentially change it. Your counterpoints, or what you could do or would do, or what impact it might have, just to be considering that, just to be prepared, because live motions can happen, and I know sometimes it catches people off guard, caught me off guard the first time.
Understood.
Yeah. Any other questions from Mark? Thank you very much. Thank you for sitting here this whole time. Our meetings are not usually like this.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Okay. Then, is there anything you wanted to talk about with the parking and traffic ordinance before making the motion?
No, I think it's clear, and it comes back to the selectmen, and, we have the opportunity to look at free parking for residents and things like that, so.
Thank you. That was the only thing, and maybe what you're just brings up in the face of this. Maybe we'll look at it under comments, but I don't know if you guys would want to actually take, kind of like the Board of Finance does, getting a feeling of the board. So I don't think it would be like, we can't officially vote on a power that we don't have, because the ordinance is what will give us the power potentially to set the fees, but just to maybe get a sense of the board, that's what you guys call it, a sense of the board on the idea of giving residents free parking, essentially not charging them, as some residents have shared, they feel like they already pay taxes, they already do a lot for the town, and people seem okay with the idea of charging other people to come to the town who aren't paying taxes to our roads and police and XYZ, but they really felt pretty strongly that residents of the entire town of Stonington shouldn't have to pay to park. So if you guys wanted to give a sense of what your thoughts are on that, because I'm sure it'll come up at the town meeting, or if you want to wait until after, if this passes, to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's non-binding, so I think I've made my opinion clear about the need for resident parking permits.
I agree, and I've heard from many constituents who say the same things.
Yeah, so I mean, if it comes before us for fees, I would be disinclined to act on it without resident parking permits.
Okay, so all things to definitely talk about. So I'm going to make the official motion then. I made it, so now do I hear a motion to approve the resolution to call a special meeting on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now it's up to the residents. Democracy is at work. So all these will go to residents July 22nd. I'll let everyone come out and engage, and you can ask questions between then and now. I I know you have to leave in 4 minutes, so the next item is comments from the selectmen. Ben, do you want to start? Can you get the ball and then Debbie?
I don't think I've done
It's Friday.
There's nothing left.
Yeah, there's always left to give. Do you want to give some updates?
I have 3 short things. The first, and we kind of alluded to it, I had heard from people who are very interested in having some kind of a notice go out to either those residents that will be affected by the zoning updates, or, like you said, perhaps to everyone. That might give some highlights, let them know when the meetings are, give some, where they can go for additional information, and make sure that they know, like, by receiving something in the mail, not just by having to go to the website, that there is a way for them to get involved, and especially with the flood ordinance, or even some of the other ones, which could really have financial impacts on them, so, and a large swath of residents. So I just wanted to say that. With regard to the planning and zoning, I had 2 other things. So I'll do the first one short. I have been approached by a couple people who would like to actually have a meeting with you to discuss maybe putting some kind of a template memorandum of understanding together for, in the event that there's future filming down in the borough, like that happened last month. They felt like maybe things could have been smoother, and maybe there, should have been something that they could follow. These are people that felt like they were impacted by the filming.
Okay, they have more specific. Yeah.
I told them it would be better for them to contact you, and then they could, start working on something. They've volunteered to work with you to do that. And I think that makes sense. If it's gonna happen again in the future, we have something that's kind of a guideline, if that makes sense. And then the third one is, kind of exciting. Before I came here this afternoon, I went to the Blue Economy event at the Seaport, which was just very inspiring. I was really happy to see it, bringing a group of people together, educators, businesses, technology, regulators, to talk about, a coalition where you can, I actually made some notes, which I don't have in front of me, for networking, helping business advocates, just helping with the blue economy, meaning ocean-related economy, whether it's coastal resiliency, ocean technology, energy. I mean, there's a lot of parts to it. And their theory is that maybe by bringing these different groups together, we can, get more done, get more people connected to it. And I'd like to see us kind of look at some of our other local partners. I mean, there were some people there associated with the fishermen, and some of the aquaculture people there, but, I think there's a lot more people that could have been there. I mean, it was nice to see URI and UConn and, Project O and different groups from Mabry Point, as well as a number of businesses. And I think it's really an exciting thing. It's just kind of kicking off right now, so thank you.
Thank you, and then I'll be super quick. There are a few things I just wanted to be sure, since we try our best to save them for these meetings. You heard a little bit at the Board of Finance special meeting that was right before this about the boathouse and ARPA funds, but if you wanted to, we could probably add an item to our next agenda to talk more about just maybe giving you an update on the ARPA process that we've kind of created from scratch and how it works, and that way, because it should be a group decision between Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, and in particular related to the boathouse, but other potential items that will be coming up for the August Board of Finance meeting, like Washington Street drainage. So we can do that. And just to say, last week, since our last meeting, I did put in for a grant for the Connecticut Port Authority for design and engineering work for a potential future water taxi spot off of exit 90. DOT has been really fantastic to work with so far. They basically gave us a letter of commitment that should things keep proceeding in the right way, they would be open to a lease agreement with the town. So again, it's still far way off. There's still a lot of hurdles, but some of the really big hurdles that have been identified, I think in some parking plans that have been around since 2010, I think, we've really overcome thanks to a lot of amazing people and organizations and past work that we are making some progress on that, which hopefully would help with reducing congestion in downtown Mystic. We also had a harbor master meeting this week as part of our emergency management work with Captain Schneider and most of the harbor masters. It was a really productive meeting. On Friday, we are holding interviews because our Director of Administrative Services, who was here and has left but is retiring. So we will be having interviews. We'll keep you guys updated on that process. And just last, I just want to let you know, yesterday I was in Stratford for a half-day session as part of my role on the at-risk youth work with the Dalio Foundation and CCM, and it was really really promising. We've so far been the only town to hold a local forum, so it was great to give updates about all the work that's happening here, good work, lessons learned, and we were also the only town to bring up phones and the work that our superintendent is doing with the anxious generation and trying to kind of work on that. So I think if it wasn't for the work Stonington was doing, that wouldn't even be included as a concept in the plan, and now I think it very well might be. In addition to all the other amazing things that hopefully will come out of that. So I will stop there because I know we're well over time, but if you guys have any questions for me? No. Anything else? Stacy, might for anything really big? There's so much. Okay. If not, you guys can call up and talk to Stacy or any of us. All right, thank you. We'll adjourn at 7:22.